Well, it's Putin the Tax Cat watching out for your finances, keeping his nose out for the IRS and all those other bad people. So as he shakes off any of those bad things that can happen, bad vibrations. So he looks in all angles, watching out for your finance. Putin the Tax Cat, always on the job.
Well, I was consulting with Putin the Tax Cat, and you got to remember, Putin the Tax Cat is just a cat. He's just a little furry critter. He doesn't know everything, so be aware of any advice that I get from Putin the Tax Cat. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things though here. Now, for instance, according to Putin the Tax Cat, well, I have a lot of respect for. He's pretty sharp. He's got some pretty good senses. He's a cat, right? So, anyway, he says that one of the smartest things to do, if you're a large corporation, is to incorporate in the state of Delaware, because there's no income tax on corporations in the state of Delaware. It used to be that New Jersey became very tax friendly for the Fortune 500, and everybody was in Secaucus, and then they moved over to the state of Delaware for a reason. So actually, in the state of Delaware, you have like over 60% of the Fortune 500 are incorporated, and over 50% of all the public companies are incorporated. So because basically they got a lot of good laws that keep the Board of Trustees insulated from any kind of liabilities, and they don't have any state income tax. So, now this could also be an advantage, according to Putin the Tax Cat, because Putin the Tax Cat, he's a pretty smart cat, I mean, I know he's got a lot of whiskers, and he's got a tail, but, I listen to him, so he knows what he's doing. But anyway, Putin the Tax Cat says that, say for instance you got an S corporation, and you're going to bring in a partner, but he's born in a foreign country. He's from Latvia or something, right? Well, you know what happens then? You're no longer an S corporation because one of the members is a foreigner. You can't be an S. You got to be a regular corporation. That's just how the law is. And then if you're in the state of Florida, you got a regular corporation. Guess what? You get taxed. You got state income tax and everything. So the deal is, you want to actually register, maybe allocate and make a new corporation, and register it in the state of Delaware, and you can operate in the state of Florida. And since you're not operating in Delaware, there's no income tax in Delaware. And this is all according to Putin the Tax Cat. It's not, I'm getting this from a furry critter, so I don't want to give any advice here because this shit costs money and I gotta look it up. But anyway, Putin the Tax Cat is kind of off the cuff, so we could put it that way. And turns out, so when you're in Florida, you want to operate in Florida, you can operate, the entity that you registered in Delaware, but you register it in Florida as a foreign corporation. Now, that means it's out of state. Now, if it's from another country, it's an alien corporation. That's what they call it, right? But, you don't have to pay the corporate tax then, right? Pretty cool, huh? Just goes to the shareholders. Now, another thing, probably a lot of people don't know. Well, maybe they do know this. I mentioned that Cyprus is a big tax haven for Europe. Now, a big tax haven for British interests, and from Alex Jones that the Queen and every, and British still got all kinds of money. Believe me, certain people do. And that's why the BVI, the British Virgin Islands, is a tax haven. Actually, you got about 500,000 different corporations incorporated in a BVI, which is like nothing. They don't have any kind of tax. So, if you got a partner, and one of the partners happens to be a corporation in the BVI, and you can allocate your income certain percentage of that, according to Putin the Tax Cat. Now, you'd have to freaking consult with Putin the Tax Cat to see what percentage of income you could allocate to your BVI company, and there's nothing taxed. So how's that? So there's a lot of cool laws out there, and actually, there's a lot another place where they incorporate a lot of companies out of state is in Nevada. Actually, Nevada has more of a advantage for smaller corporations, not the large publicly traded corporations, because Nevada has better laws at protecting the managing members. So there's a lot of cool things out there, but if all this sounds too complicated, what Putin the Tax Cat says, just do this: buy gold and silver and go bury it in the ground, and someday that stuff's going to be worth a lot of money, and just sit on it. So you want to skip the paperwork, just buy gold and silver. So that's another advice from Putin the Tax Cat, but I just figured I'd throw this out there because, you hear all this stuff, Alex Jones. I mean, I could talk some freaking stories, but I don't think I should. But, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that goes on. And, the drama freaks don't tell you nothing. And people that know what's going on, they're not going to be on YouTube telling you what's going on. That's for sure. But, Putin the Tax Cat, he might tell you a couple things that would be point of interest. But, that's just true. This is how business actually is in the United States, And, actually, when you think about it, like the oil companies, they say the oil companies only made a certain percentage of profit. You know what? That's the company. That's because the officers on the top, they freaking got these big-ass salaries, And then every time they went someplace in Las Vegas for a meeting, they had all these expenses and stuff, with travel and shit, and, the hotel where they had to stay, and all the stuff cost them money, right? So, I mean, it's expensive to run that company. That's why it doesn't make so much money. So, I mean, I always get this shit sometimes from these more conservative type people, and I'm not knocking it, but, when they say a company only made 3% profit, you got to look at what the salaries are of the people on the top, man, When you look at that shit and you wonder why they freaking even made 3%. Maybe they should have lost money, right? So that's another dangle you want to do, bleed the company dry. So, and also the thing you want to do is, well, this is according to Putin the Tax Cat, if you get a lot of financiers on something, you want to run with the money, grab it up front, draw as much as possible. Banks are usually tougher to do that with, but when you're selling penny stocks or some bullshit like that, man, that might be you know what I mean. You're looking for suckers to freaking invest in your venture. That's what you really, that's what happens. That's what happens. Basically the rule is you want to grab the money and go. And, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, you want to get everything up front as possible. Just like if there's a loan on a contingency, there's a line there on a bank loan, it says contingency. You want to draw out of that contingency first. And, according to Putin, the tax advisor and consultant, this cat is pretty smart. You want to pull that out first and get it ahead of time. You don't want to wait till the end. You want to get it now. Because it don't matter, it's always like what you got now is what counts. So, I don't know, I might put some other videos out here about some of the cool stuff that goes on, because Putin the Tax Cat knows some shit. And it's not coming from me, it's coming from a little furry kitty cat, and he don't know everything. So, if you got a problem with anything that's, I'm relaying from Putin the Tax Cat, you got to talk to him. And if you don't understand how to meow and talk to him, you're not going to communicate very well. So, and actually he charges a lot. He charges a lot of money, man. I mean, he charges, like, if you want to, you want some advice, it's like you got to fill up his little kitty bowl with gold, Then he'll really freaking hook you up. But otherwise, free stuff, it's worth about, a bag of cat litter, So that's basically what he's giving you. But I can get some pretty good advice from Putin the Tax Cat, and I think I'll put some of it out here every once in a while because, it's better than that bullshit I hear on the internet because, Alex Jones, man, that guy, I don't know what the hell. Man, that guy's a yo-yo. Big time. The Queen of England and the Duchess of freaking Europe and they own the world and they got all the land. He's an idiot. Actually, he's not an idiot. He's full of shit. And actually, he's appealing to freaking idiots. That's what's going on. Hopefully I'm not insulting anybody, but beware of those guys because they're bad news. But actually, the world actually is run by powerful shitheads, and they got their racket on big time. They know what's going on. And actually, some of the points between conservatives and liberals, they're both partly right and they're both partly wrong. It's just how it is. But there's a lot of shit that goes on. You'd be surprised. It's crazier than in a movie. So, Putin the Tax Cat, I don't know what he'll tell me next, but you might hear it on his channel sometime. But he knows some cool shit.